Well, the good news is it looks like we're almost guaranteed Joyous Journeys next week, so if you don't know what Joyous Journeys is, it's where you get the extra 50% XP when you're leveling. But the bad news is, if all the speculation around Joyous Journeys coming next week is correct, then we've still got quite a lot of Dragon Soul left. Now, don't get me wrong, Joyous Journeys coming next week makes absolute sense because Dragon Soul will get the 30% nerf next week, so the last 5% that it needs, until it's at full potency. I'm seeing plenty of people coming back to start getting ready now for Mr. Pandaria that have had no interest in Cataclysm, and ultimately it just makes sense to have the extra XP in to give people an incentive to come back now and start prepping. Now, the most interesting thing about this is it kind of also hints at when release is going to be. I kind of feel like if Blizzard already know when pre-patch and release is going to be, they should just announce it now so people can start booking time off work. Now, don't get me wrong, the reason they're probably not announcing it is because the beta's not in a polished state yet, and these are probably just placeholder dates, but it still gives us a good idea of a rough timeline. Before we jump into all of that, make sure you check the link in the pinned comment in the description to go and pre-order your Mr. Pandaria Rested XP guide. You can get that pre-ordered now to make sure that you've got it ready for launch, but the important thing is having it ready for the pre-patch. Because as a bonus, they're also throwing in the quest preparation guide where you can basically stack up the best quests to get as much XP as possible before the game even launches. It is an affiliate link, so any guides bought go towards supporting the channel, providing you use my link, so thanks in advance for that. And let's jump in. Now, firstly, what you might have noticed yesterday was there was a small update sent down to your client for Cataclysm Classic. Now, there was quite a few changes in this build, but nothing major that you're going to notice. But what some eagle-eyed people on Discord found was the fact that the holiday section had been updated, specifically Joyous Journeys, funny enough. Now, it looks like Joyous Journeys is going to go live with the 30% nerf to Dragon Soul, which will be on the 27th of May, so next Tuesday for NA players. But what they've also noticed is the duration, and the duration is 1319, so 1,319 hours, which is what people are assuming. If this duration is 1,319 hours from the 27th of May, that takes us to the 21st of July. Now, the thing that's interesting about the 21st of July is it's a Monday, and 99% of the time when anything World of Warcraft launches, it launches on Mondays. Except for TBC, we can ignore that. Because going back to 2019, on Monday the 26th of August, we had Vanilla. Again, TBC will kind of gloss over because that was a weird one, but that launched on Tuesday, the 1st of June 2021. Wrath of the Lich King was Monday the 26th of September 2022, and Cataclysm was on Monday the 20th of May 2024. So it's fairly common for World of Warcraft expansions to launch on Mondays. Now, you might be thinking, well, Joyous Journeys will only go up to the pre-patch, so July the 21st is probably the pre-patch date. Well, firstly, the 21st of July would be far too late for the pre-patch, and we'll get into why in a minute, but also the pre-patch wouldn't be launching on a Monday. It would be on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, depending on NA or EU, obviously. So I definitely think with the whole 1319 number being in with the Joyous Journeys being hours makes absolute sense, and the game launching on the 21st of July also makes absolute sense. Now, this would mean two things. Firstly, it would mean we would have Joyous Journeys for our monks during the pre-patch, which would be absolutely amazing. Now, the reason that would be amazing and not actually unbelievable either is because if you remember back in Mr. Pandaria originally, or if you don't remember because you didn't play it, then I'll tell you, we had a system called Recruit a Friend, and Recruit a Friend worked with monks. So you could have triple XP on a monk, plus the 50% XP monk bonus. So being able to level monks even back in original MoP super fast was the norm, so having the extra 50% from Joyous Journeys during the pre-patch, I can kind of believe that that is going to be there. And we have had it in other expansions. It was just the Cataclysm pre-patch where we didn't have it. It was actually removed, but we had it in Wrath of the Lich King. We'll probably have it again in Mr. Pandaria, which I actually think is great news, especially with how short sometimes the pre-patches can feel. Which leads us nicely onto, okay, so if we think July the 21st is when MoP's actually going to launch, what about the pre-patch? It's impossible to say exactly how long the pre-patch will be, because the TBC pre-patch was only 2 weeks, the Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch was around 4 weeks, and the Cataclysm pre-patch was around 3 weeks. The reason I'm saying around instead of exactly is because when the pre-patch goes live on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for EU, It's never going to be full weeks, if you know what I mean, because like we've already seen, the expansions launch on a Monday. So EU are always going to get a little less than NA, only by a day, and the reset of launch is never a full week. So it's around 4 weeks for Wrath of the Lich King, around 3 weeks for Cata, and around 2 weeks for TBC. So we could get any of those. Now, the reason the Wrath of the Lich King one was 4 weeks, because it was quite a big pre-patch. It was the whole invasion event, and it did go on for quite a while. Cataclysm being about 3 weeks is kind of what I would expect for Mist of Pandaria, especially with how all of this comes together. As of next reset, we'd have been doing Dragon Soul for 4 months. If the pre-patch is the 21st of July, it's going to be nearly 6 months, or around 6 months of Dragon Soul. And that would be with the whole of June and most of July at the 30% nerf. So it's not even like the fun, challenging version of Dragon Soul. It's just going to be completely face roll or ignored, because our guild's taking a break now until the pre-patch. When it comes to raiding, don't tell them. I haven't actually told them myself yet. Now, to say Dragon Soul's remembered as one of the worst raids in history, to then having it being one of the longest tiers in Cataclysm is kind of mental, in my opinion. So at the very least, they need to make sure that the pre-patch is a little bit longer than 3 weeks, possibly as long as 4 weeks of Wrath of the Lich King, just to keep the end of the game pretty interesting, or a little bit more interesting anyway. But as I say, to have Dragon Soul as current content for about 6 months being longer than most of the raid tiers in Classic, it's kind of mental, really. So at the very least, I would expect Blizzard to do a bit of an extended pre-patch. So we're at least doing Dragon Soul for an extended period of time, but with monks and with our new talents, and it just spices it up a little bit. Which means pre-patch, if we was going to go by a 3-week pre-patch like Cataclysm was, would actually be the first week of July, specifically the 1st of July. And that would give us just under 3 weeks of the pre-patch. I personally think it will be as early as the 24th of June, and I've been saying for months now that I think the pre-patch will be in June. I actually would have said it'd be a week earlier than the 24th of June, but I think 4 weeks of pre-patch would be about right. That would be 24th of June, we'd have pre-patch, 21st of July would be launch. That'll give us about 4 resets in Dragon Soul with monks, about 4 weeks to get leveled up. We're going to have the pre-patch scenario, all the new talents, pet battles. Like, there's tons of stuff to do even during the pre-patch, especially if things like pets are dropping from the old raids like it looks like they're going to be, meaning actually having a 4 or 5 week pre-patch could be pretty fun just because of the amount of content that there is to do. So while I think the 24th of June would make the most sense because it'll leave about 4 weeks of Dragon Soul and 4 weeks of the pre-patch, I think it could be as early as the 17th if I'm honest. And if I was Blizzard, I would definitely be pushing it out on the 17th, because an extra week of pre-patch would be much more fun than an extra week of Dragon Soul in the current Cataclysm state with the 30% nerf, in my opinion. Now, I know that was just a lot of dates, a lot of timelines and everything, but to break it down, by the looks of it, Joyous Journeys is going to be launching next week. Great news. Going by the duration of it on Waggo Tools, it looks like July 21st launch or July 21st pre-patch. But I did say at the start, can you imagine if July 21st was the pre-patch and then launch ain't going to be for another few weeks after that and it's going to be in August? Like, come on. No chance. Nearly 7 months of Dragon Soul. No, I don't think so. So July 21st is looking like launch, or certainly around that time frame. And then I would say late June, so next month, we'll be having pre-patch. Tell me what your thoughts are and put your predictions in the comments below. And I was going to mention this at the start, but I thought I'd leave it to the end so it's just those people that have actually stuck around all the way till the end. Put your prediction for the pre-patch in. I will take all of the correct predictions once we get an announcement for the pre-patch date, and I'll do a random giveaway on stream out of all of the people that got the date correct in the comments below for a Mr. Pandaria Collector's Edition. You know, the digital deluxe edition where you get the boost and all of that jazz. I haven't done a giveaway like this for a while, so I thought I'd chuck that in at the end to say thanks for you all picking up your Rested XP guides and all that goes towards supporting the channel anyway, so I'll give back if you guessed the pre-patch date correct. But cool, if you enjoyed the video as always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.